All right. Did Elon plug it back in? Is X like working? Okay. All the other side. Okay. Cool. We're live then. Boy, that was a disaster yesterday. I guess apparently there were. I saw a report that said there were 100 million websites affected by this outage of. Is it Cloudflare? I don't know. One of the servers. Whatever. Good takeaway. We're all so dependent on the electronic media these days, but it's the way it happens. Anyway, we're over that. I don't know. Maybe it's because of that, because of the topics today, because of what's going on. Maybe it's because we're heading into the holidays. Are you familiar with the term piss and vinegar? It's like you're just spoiling for a fight. I am ready. I am ready to push back on all of this crap today. And by the way, I promise you this is an Epstein-free zone today. Like, I'm just done. It's just nothing's ever going to come from it. It's just they're all lying about it. They're all full of crap. He's a dirtbag. And they're all forgetting about the victims. So there's no point to even talk about it. So the hell with that. But there is something to talk about with these dirtbag politicians. This was incredible. Don't ever let anybody in a position of power, in this case it's a bunch of politicians, who are pushing insubordination with a video. Like this actually happened. I don't know whether you saw this or not. Don't ever let them get you in trouble or fired or arrested, because they will never back you up. We'll talk about that. Talk about pushing back as well. Boy, the mainstream media is not talking about the insubordination video from Democrats on Capitol Hill, but they're certainly talking about Trump calling a reporter Piggy. They're all over that. Oh, they're horrified by that. You know, the same people that called him Hitler, but, whatever. And because we're so close now, what are we, a week away from Thanksgiving? We are truly in the turkey red zone now. They're out with the annual list of topics you shouldn't talk about around Thanksgiving. You have verboten, forbidden topics. Well, let me tell you something. If it's your house, and that's the distinguishing factor here, if it's your house and other people bring this stuff up, you got to push back. I told you I was ready for a fight today. Anyway, thanks for finding me. I appreciate it so much. Looks like everything's working. We're online. Don't forget about the audio podcast, too, and replay all your favorite platforms. Let's get right to it. What insubordination video? What? Those are serious charges. No, this really happened. And not a peep, nothing from this fake, corrupt, so-called free press we have. A bunch of politicians got together. You probably saw this already. It's actually gone viral. And made a video. These are the ones with military service, apparently. And they're encouraging military members and people in the Department of Justice, maybe even first responders, to defy orders. Like this is really happening. Now, it's a long video because they're politicians and that's what they do, and they're blah, 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 blah. So you're going to hear me and see me jumping around in the video here, but I'll play it for you because you need to understand exactly what this is and why it's so important. That the takeaway is, should never let any people like this get you in trouble or get you fired, because they will never, ever back you up. Anyway, here's the video. I'll jump around a little bit and get to the main important part.
Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals
Against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our...
Wow. Well, the first realization of this is how actually desperate they are to hold on to power. I mean, this is incredible. You've got a bunch of weasel politicians actually saying this kind of thing, actually pushing insubordination. It's exactly what it is. And specifically, my mind goes to like lower ranked military people who hear this. Maybe they're like inspired to do something and they just defy an order, which is their job to do because they're serving our country, and they'll get in trouble. Inevitably, that's what's going to happen. You can have a bunch of people getting in trouble because of this. Well, but my elected representative told me that I didn't have to do this. And they'll get, I don't know, fired, hopefully not court-martialed, other trouble. Can you imagine trying to come back to these same weasels that made that video and trying to have them have your back? Hey, Senator, I saw your video where you said that I don't have to follow orders I disagree with. It's my duty to do that. But I lost my pension and I can't do that. Do you think you're going to be able to knock on a door or call a phone and get the attention of these assholes to back you up and to do it? These are the same. You know what they are? These are the adult version of the kids in elementary school. Remember, there was always like somebody like egging you on. There was always like some kid or an older kid. This happened a lot. It's like, hey, so-and-so called you a name. You should go fight him. You should go beat him up. You should go. And then at the playground, a fight happens and you look around for them to back you up and they're nowhere to be found. These are them. These are the same people grown up. Absolute, complete, total weasels. But again, the most important factor in all of this is, where is the media? Where is the media calling this out? Nowhere. They're nowhere to be found, and they're going to get away with it. And you know why else they're going to get away with it? Because their counterparts, the wimps on the other side of the aisle, will do nothing to push back on it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So the takeaway and the most important lesson on this is, don't ever let anybody like these assholes get you in trouble in any facet of life. Anybody. Get you in trouble, get you fired, anything, because they will never back you up, because they want to push a certain agenda. Don't ever listen to people like that. This one truly, I mean, I follow a lot of news to try to get to, how it matters to you and me and everybody else. But this is one of the most despicable things I've ever seen, really. And I don't care. It's really not about politics. I would say the exact same thing. If all the roles were reversed, we're going to play that game and say that if the other people were in charge and there was the other people saying to do this, it's just despicable. And I really, truly hope people laugh at this and don't follow this. Like there's not some poor, misguided military or law enforcement or lower level Department of Justice person who's going to follow their advice and think that they're going to have their back on this. It's unbelievable. My God. All right, well, no news on that. No pushback on that from your favorite mainstream media outlets. Of course not. No, of course not. They won't talk about that. But they're all over this. Oh, my God. Trump called a reporter a name. Oh, boy. You've seen this, I'm sure. It's a couple of days old. I meant to talk about this, but the X outage and all that other stuff. So he's on Air Force One the other day, and there was another reporter who wanted to talk about the Epstein files, which always is a topic that pisses Trump off. And he called her Piggy and told her to shut up.
Sir, is there something incriminating in the files, sir? Why not
Jesus. Yeah, you're right. It's different times. And yes, in different times, even, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago, you'd want your president to be a little bit more dignified. I get that. I get the argument. I totally understand that. But you know what my first thought was, and I wonder if this was yours too. You got to push back at some point. You just have to. So let's not forget about the one factor that nobody's talking about with this. I'm not going to justify it either way, but I don't care. She was interrupting constantly. So basically, I think what he meant was, not justifying it, I'm just saying I think what he meant was, Piggy as in you're hogging up everybody else's question time on Air Force One. But he did call her Piggy. But what my first takeaway is, and sometimes you have to just kind of go with your initial gut reaction, I kind of thought it's time somebody pushed back on these people. I mean, I really did. You know what my second thought was? This is the same press corps. And this is now, if you have access to Air Force One, you are the White House press corps. You are like the top echelon press badge, immediate access. You're 2 feet away from the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world kind of press access. But the same people that I was just talking about didn't push back at all at the dirtbag politicians pushing insubordination. The exact same people. Not completely whitewash that. Completely. The same people. Also, the same people who compared to and still comparing to and call him Hitler. The exact same people. Now, I don't know about you. In my personal life, I don't care what profession, I don't care what level, I don't care what scenario, and we're about to talk about Thanksgiving stuff here in a couple of minutes, even in that level, if somebody had called me that kind of stuff, I'm going to call her that and worse. That's just me. But that's also why people like me and probably you couldn't ever be president. But also this. Let's factor this in. I didn't hire this guy to do a job. That's essentially what you do when you vote for president, to be nice to the press. I didn't. I saw the country as so screwed up, we needed somebody that's going to push back on them. Because as you know, I think I must say it every single day on here, probably every single day. We are in our situation now, if you want to feel that way about the country, or there's so much so-called chaos and consternation because of those people. Because the same people yelling at him on Air Force One, the corrupt, politicized, propagandized, biased, slanted, completely bought and paid for so-called free press. The media did this, my friends. So That's my reaction. I don't think it's going to change. I really don't care what he calls that lady. I really don't. And hopefully we can get back to decorum someday. That's not now. So what are you going to do? So what, you're not ever allowed to call them names in return? Well, he's supposed to be at a higher level. Yeah, but you know what? Maybe we needed something different. Maybe we needed somebody to call them to their faces exactly what they are. Maybe that's actually needed for now. And maybe once we get through this and they actually get a taste of their own medicine, down the road, we can all be polite again. Maybe. But maybe not now. Maybe it's not the worst thing to call her Piggy. Maybe not. Maybe not. But they're all offended because it's them. One of their, how dare he call a reporter a name? Well, he's the president. How dare you call him Hitler? How about that? It's fair play. You got to push back at some point. Maybe this is the time. Maybe. That's my initial reaction anyway. But anyway, speaking of pushing back, now we're really getting close. Oh, boy. Getting close to the American holiday, the great American holiday, unique to us and nobody else in the world. I know Canada has their own. It's in October or something, whatever. This is our Thanksgiving, and I love this holiday. It's food. It's family. It's fun. It's football. It's all of these things all combined, and it's fantastic. But, and this kind of actually ties into what we were just talking about with Trump calling that reporter Piggy. There are things you shouldn't say. There are things you shouldn't ever talk about. So Talkers Magazine, I remember them. They're a talk radio outlet that tries to come up with topics for talk radio hosts and different things. And basically, if you pay them a lot of money, they'll put you in their top 10 list as talk radio hosts, whatever. That's radio stuff you don't need to know about. But they came out with a poll that was apparently commissioned by a wine company. Big alcohol holiday, we know. And maybe people drink so much to get through these holiday discussions. I'll get to the list first and then why this is different these days. 47% of Americans say sitting at the kids' table sounds more appealing this year, so they don't have to listen to the topics they don't want to talk about in mixed company. Well, first of all, mixed company. It's Thanksgiving. It's mostly your family. Anyway, number one, you can guess it. What do people not want to hear? What topics do you hope to avoid this Thanksgiving? Politics, understandable. Followed by, and I'll just go through these all the same, money, appearance, or weight. Like what? You got to shame somebody for what they put on their plate? Calories don't count at Thanksgiving. That's my philosophy. Religion, their ex, mental health, career, personal struggles, relationship status, all the same crap. Well, it's interesting, and I understand that. And I understand why they would come out with a list for this of what people don't want to talk about and forbidden, verboten Thanksgiving topics and all that other stuff, and I understand that all. But here's the thing, and here's the qualifier. This is a little bit different. Usually, as it happens, I like to host in my house Thanksgiving. I like to have people over. Like I said, I love this holiday. I absolutely love it. Things are different these days, and it's interesting that we get a topic like this published where you talk about things that people want to avoid. This never used to happen 10, 15, 20 years ago. You never used to see stories like this pop up where things wanted to avoid. It used to be stories like, because we used to talk about them on the air when I was doing local yokel radio. It used to be things like, how to talk to your Thanksgiving host when he's obviously wrong about something. You know, you try to convince somebody else instead of just avoid altogether. That, you know, it's funny how things have shifted now because now people have gotten some pushback. Interesting. Kind of like how Trump pushed back to that reporter by calling her Piggy in his own inimitable way. Maybe. I'm going to tell you a story to exemplify exactly what I'm talking about, how this is different these days. And let me just qualify this by saying, if you're hosting, this is a different story. You don't want to bring up controversial topics. You know, this is to give thanks and bring people together, obviously. You know that. Everybody knows that, right? But if you're hosting, and it's somebody else bringing this stuff up like they used to and pushing you and constantly bringing up these topics, you don't only have a right, if it's your house, you have a duty to push back. Don't ever sit there and take it. And I speak from experience. Let me just give you an example. This wasn't Thanksgiving, but an example of how things used to be in the early 2000s for comparison. Because the narrative used to be for so long that if you agreed with a certain philosophy and if you voted a certain way, had a certain mindset, it was the acceptable narrative, right? For so long, for so many decades, with zero pushback. None, right? Wasn't just about politics. If you feel a certain way, it's like what the people who watch CNN all the time would agree with. they were the ones that controlled the conversation all the time. And I know you know what I'm talking about. It happened at every Thanksgiving. It happened at every, the cocktail parties. It's like, oh, no, you must not talk a certain way. You know what I'm talking about. It was more of your left-leaning friends. They dominated the conversation. And for the longest time, we're always scot-free to bring it up anytime they wanted. And people like me who more independent-minded, they would just kind of put up with it, even if I was hosting or something's happening in my house to put up with it. Let me give an example of when this all changed for me. I think I've told you before, it's like we're a mixed family. So my wife is Jewish, I'm not. So part of that when you have a child is you have a naming ceremony for my wife's religion, part of the whole thing. This is after, being christened and all the other good stuff. We're like the UN. We have everything in my house. But anyway, in 2004, this is my second daughter. You got to bring a rabbi into the house to do a naming ceremony. This is how this happens. And I find whatever, her family booked it, this guy, whatever. Never had any problem with the first child. This guy walks into my house, not Thanksgiving, but still a ceremony and a family get-together, walks into my house, and the very first thing he said was, "We don't have any Bush fans in the house, do we?" Okay, this is 2004, so you can imagine. I didn't know at the time this particular rabbi was also a local politician. I knew his name through that, okay? Democrat politician. That's how I knew him. I was so unbelievably freaking stunned that somebody would bring that into the conversation, into my house. And I didn't say anything at the time, because did you ever get stunned with something so quickly and you didn't know how to respond, but you have a million responses later on when you're thinking about it? This is what changed my mindset on this forever and ever and ever. I don't bring up controversial topics ever in somebody else's house. It's their home. The disrespectful people like this guy walking into my house and saying that changed my mindset forever, whereas I will never, ever put up with that, ever. In fact, this ties back into Thanksgiving. I've told people at the table to shut up about politics because it is my house thereafter, after 2004. It's when it all changed for me. I push people. Because now compare that 2004, the era we're talking about, to right now. It was carte blanche. People like him, the rabbi I'm talking about, because there was never any pushback before that era, would talk about and bring up with and argue anytime they wanted, any ceremony, anything, any holiday, anything, and push back because they never had any pushback. But now they do. And it's interesting that you see this now manifested in stories like we just had. Topics to avoid for Thanksgiving. Things you shouldn't talk about. This never used to be the case. Why? Why has this changed? Why are they much less likely to bring up controversial topics and shove it in your face, even if it is your home? Because there's pushback now. And this is why pushback is important. I'll say this for any holiday, any time of the year, especially being the qualifier when it's your home, you have a duty to push back against people who are bringing this crap up and to tell them that not in my house. You have to do it. So the Thanksgiving topics, let's hope we all have a great Thanksgiving. Let's hope so. I would hope that the friends and family you bring to your table aren't going to bring that crap up anyway. And we could just eat and have fun and laugh and watch football and be thankful for our country and all the blessings in our lives. But if they do happen to bring up that something that's going to get your goat, you have every right, and I say a duty, to tell them to shut the F up. And that's my Thanksgiving story. So, also, don't let politicians or people in power get you fired or get you in trouble, because they will never have your back, like the insurrection video that they pushed. I still can't believe that. And there'll be no pushback. Not from other people in the aisle, not in the media. You know that's how it's going to go down. But anyway, midweek already, making an awesome one. Back online, don't forget about this. All the platforms for the replay and the audio podcast as well, wherever you like to get those. Make sure you subscribe, follow, share, download. I don't know. Whatever the button tells you to do. I appreciate you as always. Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.